Alright guys, welcome back to another Master and Apprentice video and podcast. As you guys can tell from the title and thumbnail, we're going to go over the new Daredevil Born Again on Disney+. It just finished. The whole series is now out streaming, so if you guys want to go watch it, all of it's out now. You can go ahead and binge it. It's going to be a quick review. I'm going to try not to go too long into it. It's freshly out today. I just finished the finale. It came out just today as well, so it's still fresh in my mind. With all that being said, though, I'm going to give like an overall review and a little bit of a breakdown. So if you don't want any spoilers, you might want to just go to the end of the video, because I'm going to start with some like breakdowns. I'm not going to go too much into spoilers. With all that being said, this is obviously going to be compared to the Netflix series, right? Daredevil originally had 3 seasons on Netflix, from a while back before Disney Plus's days. Disney Plus came around. They thought, hey, let's revitalize this Daredevil show that fans for the most part really liked. And going into this, we had heard that there had been some pretty big creative overhaul, right? The first team that created this show, Daredevil Born Again, people weren't happy with it, including Charlie Cox, as well as Vincent D'Onofrio, even John Bernthal. So we knew creatively they wanted to change it. That's what they said they were going to do. That's what they said they did. And so we thought, okay, maybe this is going to be very different compared to the other Disney Plus shows, right? And I can say one thing for certain: watching all of this, you can definitely tell there's a bit of a creative overhaul. It's not seamless, right? You can tell the creative ideas on which they wanted to go and where they kind of changed during certain parts, right? You can just tell it was meant to be a little bit more political, maybe. It was supposed to have some political undertone, and I feel like they kind of quieted it down a little bit. Obviously the premise of the show is, Wilson Fisk, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, they're going against their nature, right? Wilson Fisk is trying to turn his back on crime, become the mayor of New York, maybe potentially not be a good guy, but no longer an antagonist, right? Whereas Matt Murdock is turning away from Daredevil and trying to stick just to law, right? Just a lawyer. So with all that being said, that's kind of what the whole show's about. It's essentially them from the beginning to the end fighting that. And, I gotta say, this is not necessarily my favorite. There's some great parts in the beginning and the end, but the middle is really, where it lacks for me. I feel like this is a Daredevil show that was missing Daredevil. And, I get it. It's Daredevil Born Again, and they're trying to tell that kind of story of, like, not necessarily a redemption arc, but just telling a different story prowess, than a normal Daredevil story. They're trying to show him fighting his demons, right? Big spoiler for the show, Foggy Nelson dies very early on, and this is kind of the causation of Matt Murdock turning away from Daredevil, right? I feel like that impact isn't really felt later on when we really want to see Daredevil. So, I don't know. The premise of the show is there. I just felt like it's not seamless. And the creative overhaul, I don't know. I don't know if it was for better or for worse. I want to say it was for better. Supposedly, the episodes that were the most creative overhaul were like episode 1, episode 8, and 9. And those personally are like the best episodes. That could be wrong, but that's just what I've heard and seen. Other things that I think didn't work very well, they had multiple antagonists. Usually Daredevil has more than one antagonist. It's never just a focus on one character. That's kind of been the fun part of Daredevil, is that there's so much going on, right? And this, they had Muse was a big part of it. They showed that. Wilson Fisk obviously was a big part of that as well. And then like the police force, the task force, right? The vigilante task force was also a big part of it as well. And I gotta say, the Muse was probably the most disappointing, which is unfortunate, because I think there was a lot of built-in really cool stories, especially just from the comics. I felt like super underutilized, and when they did put him in, it was done poorly. He's kind of just shoehorned in there, and then within 2 episodes he's out. And it just, I don't feel like was done very well. I just think the character wasn't done justice, and I don't really know the way they can bring it back. Technically he dies in the show. It's Marvel, right? comics, you can technically bring him back. I'm sure there's a way, but I don't see it possible because just the way it was executed, it just wasn't done well, and I don't see how they can really redeem it. Speaking of that, all the new characters, right, for the most part, a lot of the core characters, like from the Netflix series, like Karen, Foggy, a lot of those characters, they pretty much get the boot early on, and they kind of get to, Matt Murdock kind of gets a new core set of characters. I gotta be honest, I don't know if it's, the opposite of recency bias, like recency unbiased, but I really did not attach myself to any of those new characters. Matt Murdock's, new pals, none of them really worked for me. I don't know what it was. I just don't think any of them were done proper service. It felt like they had their moments of why they were in there, and you could kind of see why they were in there, whether it was Detective Cherry, Kirsten, Heather, all of these characters. I don't know. I feel like most of their time on screen was chewing out Matt Murdock, and none of them had proper character development to show like why them chewing out Matt Murdock is important. It just happened, right? And it doesn't work that well for me. Maybe that I'm alone in that, but that's just me personal. And that's kind of why episode 1, 8, and 9 are, I think some of the best, because it has some of those other characters coming in, right? Another big spoiler, John Bernthal is the Punisher. He makes a return. It's a brief return, but he's in a couple episodes. He's amazing. That's one part that I think was done very well. John Bernthal as the Punisher is a fan favorite for me for sure. And in this series, he reprises the role very, very well. And in fact, that's part of the reason I think episode 9 worked so well. His return was very, very good. But that being said, I feel like something they're going to return to in season 2 is some of those core characters. We see Karen kind of return back at the end of the series. All of that being said, there's obviously a lot more I'm missing out on. Like I said, I just watched the finale today, so I'm trying to put all my thoughts together. But I think this was, in totality, a Daredevil show that was lacking Daredevil. And I didn't enjoy that part of it. There was some really great parts, just to go over. Episode 1 with Bullseye and Foggy Nelson, absolutely amazing. Episode 1 was super, super good. Episode 9 with Kingpin returning in form to Kingpin, right? Not just Wilson Fisk. And Punisher and Daredevil all kind of returning and reprising their true original forms. Absolutely amazing, right? When we get Punisher in episode, I think it's 5, kind of returning because Daredevil or Matt Murdock's coming to him for some advice, I think that was also really amazing. All of the Hector Ayala stuff, the White Tiger stuff, and the court, I think all of that story was also pretty good, fleshed out very well. But a lot of the middle stuff, again, was kind of the weakest part of the series. Beginning, end, I honestly think was pretty strong, which I think serves it enough. The middle part was the weakest. And all that being said, because the beginning and the end were strong enough, I think it does a decent job of setting up season 2. They're already setting up and producing season 2 as we speak. There's already been some set leaks out there, so you can actually go find some of that online right now if you wanted to. But it did a serviceable enough job to get me excited for season 2. I just hope it's a little bit more seamless than season 1, because season 1 you can definitely tell there was some creative difference, and I hope they don't have that issue again. They shouldn't, right? So all of that being said, I think it's one of the better Disney Plus Marvel shows. I don't really like many of the Disney Plus Marvel shows. Most of them aren't that good either. This is like top 3 or top 5 for me. It's definitely up there. I don't think it's the best, just because there's definitely some weak parts to it. But if you like Daredevil, I think this is serviceable enough. And if season 2 is any good, I think season 1 is a good watch to get you ready for season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. So I know it's a little bit all over the place with this review and breakdown. Again, I'm just kind of fresh off the watch. But yeah, I enjoyed it. If you like Marvel, if you like Daredevil, you'll probably enjoy it too. I think I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It's not as good as the Daredevil Netflix stuff, but maybe it's because I'm biased. I don't know. I enjoyed it, just not to the fullest extent that I expected. So with all of that being said, let me know what you guys thought of the show down in the comments. If you guys liked it, didn't like it, what you guys did like and didn't like about it. Let me know what you guys think about our review, if you guys agree, disagree with any points, if there's anything I'm missing that maybe would impact the review. And yeah, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. If you guys are listening on podcast, don't forget to hit that follow and download. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.